Right, it's time for a little bit of a change in gear. So I'd like to introduce a panel session. So if I could ask the members of the panels to come to the stage. Thanks, guys. So what this panel session is going to look at is digitizing customer care with a lens on how AI can drive efficiencies, can improve customer care. Now, that's obviously easier said than done, and it's pretty difficult territory to navigate. But we've got a great panel lineup to help us navigate this territory and put some answers around these questions. Now, I'm going to ask each panel member to briefly give a little heads-up introduction before we jump into the discussion. And I think I forgot to introduce myself at the beginning, but for those of you that have just joined, I'm Zoller, Principal Analyst with Ovum, and I'm moderating the panel. So who would like to start?
I can start.
Yep.
I am Olla Billinger. I work as a VP for Products and Solutions with a service assurance company called Subtonomy. We're Swedish-based, and we provide our software platform provides tools that is used by customer support, operations, but also directed by customers through self-care solutions. Our focus, I would say, is automation, digitalization, and as well as enablement for new technologies such as 5G. Our goal is to make a better, more efficient, faster, and a more enriched customer service experience.
Yeah, my name is Christian Mehlführer. I'm working at A1 Telekom Austria, which is the incumbent operator in Austria. We're fixed mobile, fully converged. My current role is head of commercial area management. In this role, I'm responsible for the analytical side of things, for mainly focused on marketing and sales activities, care as well, yeah, which is in the sales organization with us. I have several teams working on market competitor analytics, insights, performance analytics, what's our sales performance, but also a small data science team which is looking at different marketing sales use cases.
Caspar?
Yeah, my name is Caspar. I worked at Wind3 in Italy as Director Customer Experience. Wind3 is the result of a merger between Wind and Tre, number 3 and number 4 of the country, that we're combining into one of the 3 big operators. As part of the approval of the merger, there was a 4th license granted to a new company entering the market that has changed the market dynamics quite a lot. So what we're trying to do, or what we're working on day and night, I would say, is in combining 2 companies that by itself were pretty large, legacy processes, legacy systems, into one new company, and in combination with repositioning the company from a commercial point of view in order to compete with the new entrant and the new market dynamics in the Italian market space, and to be prepared for the future, to become a truly digital telco, whatever that means. We can discuss that one.
Great, thanks, guys. So let's start with the positives. So I thought it would be good to get a sense of where AI is having the biggest impact on customer care and customer relationship management, and that covers a lot of ground. We've seen a couple of themes come through today. Is it about AI assistance? Is it about sort of AI solutions that can drive personalization? Is it about AI solutions that can provide proactive next best actions and so on? Or is the reality that telcos are doing things a lot more basic than this? Christian, would you like to start on that one?
Yeah, I think there is one common ground in a lot of activities around AI in customer care. And for me, it's about personalization, being more specific in how you handle a certain customer. We have some experience on a care value model where we applied a machine learning model to predict for all our customers whether this customer has a let's call it high care value or a low care value, and then we handle this customer differently in customer care. We put him through either faster or slower, and also signal to the agent how he should handle a customer. And this has quite some positive impacts. It leads to better conversion, it leads to higher satisfaction, and costs go up a little bit, but the business case is quite positive.
That's interesting, and I'll just chip in now before you guys pick up. But with that sort of personalised experience, how consistent is it across different channels? So I'll throw that out there. I don't know if Olla or Caspar wants to pick that up, but what are your feelings on the benefits, and also that point about consistency?
My answer to your first question would be a bit different.
Yeah.
If I may, we are very much focusing on the basics. Yeah, we are talking a lot, and there's a lot of activity on additional stuff. Yeah, but the basics are where we put most of the focus and where we think the biggest need is. Next best, whatever action, is a big part of that. The more predictive you can be, the more successful you can focus on the basics. Having said that, of course, in your line of thinking as well, we are investing quite a lot. We're doing pilots, answering your question on different channels. I think it's in a very initial stage. Definitely, it's in the plans, it's in the roadmaps. It's not there yet.
Okay, two different perspectives.
Yeah, and what we have seen at our customers is that it's important that you have, as you said in your last question, that it's important to have kind of the similar experience whatever channel you're using. If you're coming in via an IVR, if you're coming in via a chatbot, if you're coming in via a human assistant, or actually a human conversation, that is also important. Because you should get the same kind of line of responses, because the underlying data that feeds into the conclusion should be more or less the same. So we are focusing on technical troubleshooting in the network, and for that, I think that's a very valid part when it comes to how to treat, as you say, Christian, how to treat the customer when they call in. What is their last experience when they call in? Have they had a lousy CS performance or data performance coming in? That should probably affect if you should try to trigger an upsell or not, right?
Yeah.
Maybe to add to that, I see the big challenge between being ready from a technical point of view with all kinds of technology in place that allows you to be more sophisticated one way or the other, more personalized, more predictive, etc. And to be ready as a business to actually use it in a coherent manner. Many of the issues that we're dealing with, for instance, what you say, you need the same information or similar information in all your channels. Whilst a channel strategy not necessarily allows for that. Incentive systems that you have across different channels are definitely, they're not there yet to be fully optimized. So even if you have the technology in place, even if you have the processes defined and even your staff trained, there are quite some hurdles to be taken. In general, I think we were still in the initial phase.
But it's really interesting to see this. I mean, we are in the early stages. That means that's exciting, right? It's a lot of things to do to understand what we sometimes refer as a delivery debt to the customer. That can be based on invoice problems, or it can be based on other issues, provisioning, or actually network problems. But it doesn't matter what it depends on. But either the customer calls in and we know that we have delivered what should have been delivered. They can be mad anyway. But as a general baseline, at least.
No, those really interesting perspectives. Actually, one thing I just wanted to pause on momentarily. Partly because I think they've been a little bit a lot overhyped. But a lot of telcos are leveraging chatbots in the customer care domain. Some are pushing them out on popular messaging applications, and that's well and good. a lot of the chatbots, they're really not very intelligent. They're sort of based on fairly simple menu structures. They're very, very back and forth. They're pretty appalling, actually. So I don't know if these are solutions that you're looking at, and what sort of approach you've taken and how effective they're proving. Or if not directly, if you've heard things from your colleagues at other telcos.
I can start. We are not working with chat. We don't provide chatbots ourselves, but of course we have seen examples where chatbots maybe have been not a good way to introduce it. Where we use machine learning and AI is mostly in capturing the KPIs to see the deviances and network degradations and provide alarms based on that and see if the customer is affected. So when it comes to where we come in, if it's a chatbot or if it's a normal chat like WhatsApp or stuff, we kind of provide like what probable cause is it of the problem that the customer currently have, and that has proven actually, if I may mention some figures, for one of our customers, it has decreased the number of troubleshooting calls to customer service with 20%. It has increased the number of touch points with the digital channel with 200%, which is good, right?
Yeah.
Because we have also seen that often 98.5% of the customers don't even bother to call, even though they are directly affected by an issue. In the end, 75% of the technical issues have been resolved through digital channels rather than on live. So I think, your question was about chatbots, I know, but there is a lot of ground to break here, I think, and chatbots is one part of it, but it needs a lot of learning to actually make it intelligent enough. That's my
agree.
Yeah. We are using them for very specific use cases, typically a prepaid market, no? So customers calling in to check their credit. No? Very easy use case, works well, all fine. No? Percentage of calls handled by the chatbot, high. No? So that is good. They are fairly unintelligent yet, so we're working on new technologies, learning the technology, the intelligence behind it, the implementation of it all. So we're testing those. The initiatives tend to be relatively isolated, in my feeling. So the main challenge is not just to get the technology and the intelligence right, it's also the handover in case you don't come to a good answer, and how to manage that in an efficient way. How to manage that is not that difficult. How to manage that in a consistent and in an efficient way, that is more of a challenge.
Back to
that is
that
in our
point about
experience.
consistency,
Quite similar for us. In terms of technology, we are, I would say, in a very early stage for the chatbots. We can only handle very simple use cases, similar as you said, like what's my credit that I have left. The key question for us is, when is the right point to hand over to a human agent, and how to do this? And we are experimenting here, even like something like proactively offering the client in a question, should a customer care agent call you back, please enter your phone number. There are a lot of things to do here.
But isn't it also a good way to try to learn the AI process in the chatbot, to kind of have an open loop in the automation? So sometimes when it's too complex and when the responses that the chatbot is given is actually, the probability that is correct is maybe 20%. Maybe you should direct the call to
deflect the
human,
call directly.
at least, so they can give the 20% answer, because
Exactly.
would be better.
That's actually a good segue into the flip side, because clearly this isn't all sort of roses and rainbows. We all know that, and actually again, that's another theme that's come up, and actually both Anadot and Telefonica stressed it. AI is marvelous, but there's no getting away from the fact that there's problems with execution and the user experience. So I wanted to change the direction and think about, what are the real pain points for telcos when it comes to AI? I've mentioned a couple of specific things, but actually, is it even more fundamental? Does it go back to even formulating an AI strategy, knowing where to start? Is it about organizational culture, buy-in, problems with data visibility and fragmentation? Again, that's come up. And I think Amdocs was saying in one of the plenaries that was it only about 20% of telco AI projects are successful. So, clearly there's things that need ironing out. So what are the key pain points in your experiences?
So my experience is that a lot of the issues we have in getting something to execution are more organizational or cultural topics. You have to convince we have to convince our internal customers to use the technology. It's a real transformation. If we employ AI structurally in care, it's a complete care transformation, basically. People have to think differently. They have to trust what the machine recommends. We have there people, you have to imagine, they have 20, 25 years of experience on how to handle a customer and talk to them. And now suddenly they should trust a machine giving them a recommendation on what to do next. And that's for me the biggest challenge.
I think, fully agree there. In addition, what I see, you obviously have the technical challenges to get it working, to learn, etc. But then actually use it as a business, not only because of what you said, but also the capability. Are we really able to use the technology in a way that is planned when we bought the stuff? And are you ready to do so? Normally, you come into a dynamic that delivery of the technology is delayed, so people are waiting. Next quarter it's there, so I'm fine for the time being, I don't need to do anything. And once it's there, it's an isolated piece of technology that not necessarily is integrated in a real business process. So from a technology point of view, it works, but then, are you really able to use it?
I believe that when we have been working with customers, that the challenge, as you say, right, it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
It's just to merge. It's all about merging the technical with the business part together, and to be able to come into a new way of thinking. And we heard some gentlemen before talking about the whole organization need to be customer centric to make it work. Just as an example, maybe it's boring, but it can take 1.5 months to get a firewall opening because it's a different departments and it's IT versus network. That's simply not viable anymore. And I believe still that to get the AI working, to avoid to give stupid answers, if I may call it that, sometimes before you do that, maybe you should consider to actually involve a human agent to start learning the AI process with that kind of interaction. But it's the black box answers, as you mentioned, Christian. It's as a human, you think it's a bit scary, right?
As telcos, I get the impression. Actually, no. Let me not answer my own question first. But dedicated AI training for customer-facing employees, is that something that you have in place? My impression is that in most cases it's not, or at least the training, the initial training starts off okay, but then follow-up training trails off. Is that a fair comment on your situation, or you're not alone if it is?
I think it's fair. I would say as part of any project, training tends to be part of it. Also, in my experience, it tends to be too early. So the technology is not up to the level that gives the confidence to the people actually using it. So it becomes a kind of a frustrating experience, and it kind of goes down a bit. If you wait till the technology is really up and running, you're too late with the training. So that is a delicate moment. So especially if the technology works well, if you have a training to teach people how to use it, etc., but your intelligence is actually not that good yet, your credibility goes down.
Exactly.
And then you have to recover.
And I think this is actually the key problem. I mean, the training, you can train your care agents, and the technology typically, I mean, what they need to know is not that difficult. You can train them. But if they don't see a positive outcome in a way that you tell the agent, hey, this is a customer, he's likely to buy something from you. And if they don't sell more often with those customers, exactly as you say, credibility goes down and will be really, really difficult to recover. And so better get it right the first time, or only try it in a small pilot and roll it out when they're really success factors.
Okay, I mean, before I'm being waved at by the organiser, but hey, we did start a bit late, so I'm going to ignore you politely. It's always nice to sort of wind down by sort of thinking about what happens next. So where do you think the biggest impacts will be in terms of next wave AI in the customer care domain? And feel free to sort of really go out there. Are we going to see sort of Pepper-like robots in all telco retail outlets? Are we going to see sort of really advanced machine learning, voice recognition technologies like Duplex, Google Duplex kick in? Or is it something else that I've not thought of? So who'd like to take a punt at that? What's coming next?
Some of the operators maybe can start.
Okay, so what we are looking at, and what personally I believe, it's a mix between front-end technology. You say voice recognition, that's an obvious one. Testing it already, I mean, you can take away a big part of the not very nice process of getting in touch with customer care. That is an obvious example, but mostly on the basic side. So once we are really predictive in the capability to be predictive in any kind of thing related to our service, then we can become proactive in managing it, and that will make a big difference.
I think, I mean, being a bit dull again maybe, but I think sometimes the future to start with is to make, we work a lot with both the network side and the customer service side. And we work with some kind of automation in the customer service side with the chatbots and with the processes that needs to be in place. On the network side, it's also automation going on to make the net, but it's not there yet. I mean, I heard somebody to say we did NFV, we did automation, but it's still in a very early process. And to make these two automation processes start to work together, right? To start having inputs from the customer service that you often get also today, but more in a manual way, that you have a high density of calls from a certain area. That goes into the NOC. That should be automated as well. It should be automated, separate processes, but also together. I think that is one of the futures. Maybe not so fancy as like robots going around.
That's right. I'm an analyst, so I tend to think like that. So this is a good sanity
humanoids
check.
going around your home. But I think that is maybe the first steps, and those first steps can be quite a long time.
Yeah. I kind of agree. I think the technology or the next big step is there technology-wise. Yeah. There needs to be some optimizations here and there, of course. But in a way, there are just the fragments, and they need to somehow put together and be a consistent system with clear processes running smoothly. And that's then the big step. But this will take years. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that really does have to be the last point on the panel session. So thank you very much for sharing your insights and experience and being very frank. And hopefully that's given us a lot to go away with. So a big warm hand for the panel.